Hi everyone, it's Bhavani with Mind, Body, Spirit back again, speaking to our lovely presenters, hosting workshops with us at the end of May at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival in London. Today I'm joined by the lovely Karen Kay, who is hosting a workshop with us all about manifesting with the fairies. Hi Karen, so nice to
Oh,
see
hi.
you.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you.
Yes, how are you? How's it all going?
It's going really good. I'm really well. I just flew back from Manchester, being with my son, pet sitting, and I'm all excited, geared up, raring to go to start manifesting with the fairies and sharing how to do it with all the lovely people that are going to be coming to the MBS in London.
Amazing. I mean, this is one of our rather different workshops that we're hosting, and I have the pleasure of being able to speak to all of the presenters who are hosting such a wide array of workshops. Now, manifesting with the fairies is, let's say for the mainstream, kind of out there. Tell us, I have so many questions. Tell us, first of all, about bringing the energy of the fairies, or who are the fairies, bringing that into our spiritual wellness journey.
Yeah, of course. So it is a question, or those are questions that I get asked quite a lot.
I'm sure.
I've been working and connecting with fairies since I was a young child. So my first fairy experience was when I was in my grandmother's garden and she was tending to her flowers. She was an avid gardener, and the rose petals would fall and I would gather them up and make, I believed it was perfume. It was actually rose water, and I would leave it out for the fairies. And every day I would go and check and it would be gone. So I knew they were taking it. I would perceive them as little points of light. And obviously I was very young, so I didn't know what the label was. I didn't really know what fairies were. I was just having this natural, innocent communication with these beings, and they've stayed with me for my entire life. Now, a lot of people have had fairy experiences. However, a lot of people do not want to admit it in public. So I've kind of come out of the fairy closet, if you like, and am championing the fairies. I see myself as a little bit of an ambassador, giving them a positive PR and just sharing the work that they do. They are guardians of nature, first and foremost. They are magical guardians of nature and they have magical abilities. So when you connect with them, and it's always kind of on their terms, they will feel your intention. So as long as you are loving and care about nature, then they are likely to come close to you. But during the workshop that I'm doing at the MBS, I will actually share some techniques how people can do things to draw them closer to the fairies and call the fairies in.
So many questions, which I am sure you are used to. So, we're doing a workshop on manifesting, but
Mm-hmm.
manifesting with the fairies, as you've mentioned. Now, I have a few different manifestation workshops happening at the festival.
Yes.
I want people to um, really get an understanding of the real breadth of how we can use the energies around us to support us in our manifestation journey, and
Yes.
bringing the things that we want into our lives. Now, when it comes to the fairies specifically, are we just talking to people who believe in the fairies or have had experience with the fairies in order to begin to work with them? Or is it okay if you're still a little bit like, oh, well, I might have my spirit guide or my angel or my ancestors or my ascended masters that I might be familiar with, but I've not had an interaction or understanding with the fairies? Is that all right?
It's totally all right. In fact, this particular workshop that I'm doing is geared towards people who just have a curiosity, who are interested. First and foremost, they're interested in manifestation, and
Mm.
this is just another way of doing it and working with other beings. Now we do, when I do the meditations etc during the workshop, we'll be calling in our spirit guides, our ancestors, anyone who we, or any being that we usually work with, in addition to calling in the fairies. So we'll be in this protective fairy ring, if you like. So you don't have to know anything. Just all I say is come with an open mind, an open heart, a curiosity, and expect the unexpected in a delightful way. There are usually giggles and a little sprinkling of etheric fairy dust as well.
I really love that. I find this so exciting. Tell us a little bit more about, I mean, you shared beautifully about your, you know, that innocent young experience that you had as a child, that sort of, you know, innocent childlike experience that you had when you first came across the fairies, even if you didn't know what they were called. How have they continued to be a source of, um, to be a presence? I was going to say a source of spiritual guidance, but maybe that's assuming that they have been. How have they continued to be a presence, and in what way in your life, in a way that many of us can also then begin to learn from them?
Yeah, of course. So they've been there all the time. So for me, it's like having a friend there or a group of friends, because I know that I have a whole flock of fairies now. There's not just one or two, and
Oh,
they support me in the work that I do in the
yeah.
world with my writing, because I've written the Oracle of the Fairies deck with Hay House, and um, they they talk to me. It's really hard. It's telepathically, so it's
Right.
hard to explain really to somebody who hasn't had that experience. And people might say, well, how do you know it's not your own mind talking to itself? Okay, well, I know I'm old enough in earth human years to know the sound of my own mind, and also the feeling when the fairy energy comes in. So for me, they can be a little bit bossy, but in a cheeky way. But it's always okay to say no, and you don't have to do what they say unless it feels right. Now, if you really dive in or walk through the fairy door, the metaphorical fairy door, then you're just going to have a fun time, because magic and miracles just happen. I've had numerous manifestations that have happened when I've consciously co-created and connected with the fairies. For example, a few years ago, before lockdown, this was a crazy one. So I was due to go to London for, I think it was a photo shoot for a newspaper or something. And then I got an email from Madonna's mailing list saying that there was a competition to see her exclusively, to win tickets for I can't remember the name of the song now. It had an interesting name, but anyway, she was at the MTV studios, and there was over, I think, 40 or 60,000 people had entered.
Mm.
And I just asked the fairies, like, I really want to go to this. And I had a friend who loved Madonna, and I wanted to take her. And then I got an email saying, you've won tickets. Now, there were only about, I think it was 80 people in the studio out of all of those people. So that was another little thing that happened. And I know Madonna has a connection with fairies because of her well, actually, when when I walked in the studio, I had a dress on with all glitter on, so I was literally leaving a trail of fairy dust in the studio. Whoopsie. It was eco glitter, by the way. But she was associated with, I think it's called Fern Gully, or one of those cartoons where there were fairies in it, and she was connected with that. So, you know, she has that connection, and I felt like the fairies kind of weaved their magic and brought us together. Now, again, people can say, well, is that coincidence? And maybe, but you know when it is and when it's not. So I have so many experiences within my own life that I know. I don't believe in fairies. I know they exist. I'm not preaching. I'm not trying to get everyone to believe. I just want to share the magic and joy that is within my own life, and how uplifted I feel when I connect with them and feel more connected with the earth. So a manifestation's not just for material things. You can use it for cars, houses, and everything material, but you can also use it for inner peace, serenity, calmness, health, all of these types of things. And you can use it in conjunction with anything else. So it's almost like a homeopathy, if you like. You can use it alongside conventional means of doing things. You might have other affirmations that you do, or other meditations, or work with other people. It harmoniously goes alongside anything and everything. So I would really encourage, if you feel slightly fairy curious, to come along and experience it firsthand, because I have done workshops online, but to be there in person, you cannot beat that feeling. You feel
Yeah.
it. And as I'm talking about it, the energy's coming in, and it's like, I call it the fairy fizzes. Some people call it angel bumps, or
Yes.
goosebumps. I call it fairy fizzes, and it literally feels like a waterfall of glitter is just going all over me. And I want everyone to experience that if you're open to it, because it is so beautiful. And it's reconnecting us with the earth, which is super, super important, as we all know right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that sense that you know, a lot of the time when people are talking about guides, spirit guides, and the various forms in which, you know, the various forms they take, it very much feels like, especially because this is I mentioned this when I speak to other presenters, that I can know some about a lot of things, but I don't, you know, there are some things I know a lot about, but then when it comes to like the breadth of what we cover at Mind, Body, Spirit, I only know certain bits. But as you're talking, I'm really getting this deep understanding that working with the fairies is very much about being connected to nature.
Yeah.
And this world, the world that we are
Yes.
actually part of. Whereas a
Yeah.
lot of the time it's associated with something outside of us or something very much beyond us or of another realm. But so that sounds exciting. It sounds like a
Yeah.
beautiful
So
way to get connected
fairies
to nature.
fairies are a part of our realm, but they're living kind of in a parallel fairyland, we call
Mm.
it, where they live, but it is a part of our realm as well. And you hear the phrase fairies at the bottom of the garden. Most people have heard
Yeah.
that because they will retreat there, because they're close to nature, so they are part of nature. So it makes sense. And also, if anybody is coming, whoever is coming to the workshop, if you've had any experiences, do share them. You don't have to be public about it, but it's really nice to hear the other stories. I do hear a lot. And most people are like, I'm too embarrassed to tell my family or my friends because they'll think I'm a bit crazy or whatever. But as I said, I've come out of the fairy closet and I'm totally okay. I've got all my friends and all my family. So they just say, oh, yeah, that's Karen. She works with fairies. And they see the evidence in my life. So it's, you know, it's a real thing. I'm not
Yeah.
away with the fairies. I'm here right now with the fairies, and I
Yeah.
really want to share that with everybody.
It's such beautiful and exciting work, and I just love that we have the opportunity to go into it at the festival. It reminds me of just a few years ago when I was at uni, and there was a friend of mine at the time who wonderfully felt safe enough, let's say, to talk about his experience with the fairies, even though he was a very, very mainstream person, straight down the line, right now, successful film producer out in Hollywood. And I'm sure this isn't something that he gets to talk about in his daily life now, but about the presence of fairies. You
Yeah.
know, and talking about that, and it is exactly what you say about creating an environment in which we can talk about whatever experiences we're having a little bit more, and then delving into that, learning more about it, seeing how we can go further with whatever guidance they're giving. And there was
Yeah.
a photographer a long time ago, right? Quite a famous photographer who had managed to capture images of fairies, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Are you talking about the Cottingley fairies?
I don't
The
know
one,
in detail, but I do remember it was quite a long time ago. I want to
well,
say in
it was
the
over 100 years ago.
oh right, right,
Yeah,
okay. Is that how long
I
ago?
think that's the one you're talking. That's
Yeah.
the original one that kind of set everything off. So yeah, I have actually interviewed the daughter of one of the girls who photographed the fairies, and there were 5 photographs. They were all scrutinized at the time by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who said that they were real, but actually it turned out that 4 of them were fake. But until the very last photo, the girl who took it said that it was real. And I've written about that quite a lot as well. And also more recently, while we're
I think
talking
it's
about
more
fairies,
recently. Yeah.
well, there is Cicely Mary Barker, who wrote the original Flower Fairy books, which again, that was 100 years ago since the first publication.
Wow.
And I just went to see an exhibition in Liverpool, and it was so lovely to be close to that original artwork. It's all very botanical, and each fairy of each flower looks exactly like the flower. It's so beautiful. And
Yeah.
most people have a recollection of those books as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if many people listening said, oh yeah, I remember that when I was a young child. But it's
Oh,
worth getting them out again and reconnecting.
Definitely. So exciting. I feel like I could talk to you about this all day, but I know I
Yeah.
also have to wait for the workshop. So can you share one tip with me and with our community who are listening or listening live or in their own time that they can already begin to use when it comes to manifesting with the fairies so that we can wet our whistle before your workshop?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I did have something in mind, but something else has come in mind, which is very
Okay.
often how the fairies work with me. So, and I
Oh,
like to be fully present with it. So, I'm going to take just about a minute and I
okay.
want you to get really comfortable,
All right.
relax, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, breathe in love, light, peace, joy, and happiness. And then as you breathe out any cares or concerns that you may have. And then I want you to visualize yourself walking into a garden or into a woodland, somewhere that feels safe and beautiful, and walk up to a tree, a big, ancient, wise tree. And then you sit with your back against the tree, feel the energy of the tree, feel your energy going down deep into the earth to keep you grounded. And then a beautiful circle of golden fairies forms around you, keeping you safe and protected at all times spiritually. And then in your mind or out loud, say something like, fairies, fairies, come to me as I sit beneath this tree. I ask this for the highest good of all beings, including you and me. So it is. And then take another deep breath. And then when you feel ready, open your eyes. And what we've actually done there is we have sent our essence, our calling card out into the fairy realm. So they know now that we want to meet with them. And so it's like a two-way street. So they'll come forward if they feel drawn. But you can forge that connection, and it takes a little bit of patience. It can happen quickly. You might find that a few magical, interesting things happen, really lovely things that just seem a little bit out of the ordinary. Make a note of them. Tell me when you come to the workshop, because I'll be very, very interested to hear. And then we can all kind of share our stories as well as a part of the workshop. We'll have a little Q&A as a part of it as well.
Oh gosh, this is so exciting. Thank you so much, Karen. That felt so lovely. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be sneaking off the festival floor to come to your
Yay.
workshop. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I feel like, I've called in that energy now and looking forward to being able to come and share something with you.
Yeah, and also just quickly, so after the workshop, everybody that comes to the workshop, straight after, I'll be signing my decks on the Hay House stand straight after. So that'll be really nice. So we can talk a bit more after, people that are coming, and talk about their experiences, because people do have experiences at the workshop. And so it's really nice to be able to talk to the presenter, in this case me, about, how do you cope with what's happened, how can you put that into your reality, how can you incorporate it and continue it, more importantly, after the workshop.
So exciting. Really, really looking forward to
Yay.
this. Karen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me and our community online, and to everyone who's catching up in your own time. Thanks for joining.
Thank
We
you.
really can't wait to see you at your workshop on the 29th of May at 11 a.m. So that's Bank
Yeah.
Holiday Monday. I'm going to kick off our workshop day. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then.
Yay. See you then.